1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We have now passed the half-year mark. We are in episode 27 of the TMCJ podcast. And I am fit to bursting with excitement to talk about our first topic.
Yeah, it's been a
hilarious week.
It's been an awful week, but yeah. Go, Kaiser, go.
Alright, I should preface this by saying that if you're listening on YouTube, you'll hear about this on Monday, but if you're listening to this on any of the audio formats or in the complete podcast, you'll be hearing about this more than a week late. Essentially, something crazy happened between Reddit and Wall Street this week, which is a weird statement in and of itself, but essentially, to give some background, there's a Reddit forum called Wall Street Bets, and essentially it's just, random layman investors trading, like, just either decent advice, some of them are well thought out, some of them just shit post pretty much. One of them pointed out that a few massive hedge funds had over-shorted a few failing stocks. To those who don't know much about investing, shorting a stock is where you essentially sell a stock that you don't own and then buy it later. So you're essentially betting that the price will go down. It's perfectly legal, but they were shorting the stock at a massive percentage. They shorted, I think, with GameStop, in the case of GameStop, because that was the stock that most of this centered around, they shorted the stock at something very near, I want to say it was 140%. That means that they sold, before they owned, 100% of the stock that was out there, and then another 40% beyond that. And, it's basically a tactic by these larger hedge funds to try and, like, push the value down, because if they're shorting it that much, a lot of people are going to panic, dump their stock, and then they can, make the profit on the short. The company fails, and whatever. This someone on this Reddit forum noticed this, because that's publicly available information, how much a stock has been shorted, and then was like, it would be funny if we all bought this, because they're going to have to buy it multiple times from us anyway. And with shorting a stock, your losses can be infinite, because you can have, like, people can, like, drive the price up. If the price goes high enough, you could lose tons and tons of money, and that's exactly what happened. The internet collectively got together and decided to fuck over these people who had done this, and they bought. It started off as like a decent financial decision. Buy this stock, hold on to it, because eventually they're going to be forced to buy it from you, and you're going to probably make some money, and they'll lose some money because they made a bad bet. It then kind of became, I wouldn't, political, but not in the messy political way that most people mean these days. Like, it became kind of a, like, poor man versus the rich man kind of situation, and not like. But not even that, because even Elon Musk was jumping on board with this thing, and I think his post was Game Stonk, and it ballooned. GameStop's shares went from something like $10 a share up to $500 in a matter of days. I will admit, I got on board with this. I bought in when it was around $300 a share. And I'm still holding on to it because this rodeo is not over yet. But it is just one of the most ridiculous fucking things. Like, the logic behind it made good financial sense. If you see a stock is shorted to that extent, then buying it and holding on to it for a bit until it rebounds and then eventually has to go higher because they need to buy all of it to cover the shorts, that's a decent decision in terms of stock trading. Now, then it got even weirder because after the stock ballooned up to around $500, a few key investing apps, Robinhood being one of them, TD Ameritrade I think was another one, they banned the buying of GameStop, but not the selling, which means that it was guaranteed to go down. And somehow, and this is one of the most.
Hello? Fuck, I think I've lost Kaiser.
Oh.
Hello, there we go, I hear you.
Oh my god. I don't know what was happening. What is going on here?
I don't know.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, you keep... Ooh, fuck. Ow. Okay, I think I can hear you again.
Hello, hello, hello,
Yep,
hello.
yep, I hear you.
Okay, there we go. I don't know what was going on because I looked at Audible, or not Audible, Audacity, and it suddenly lost my mic connection too.
Huh.
Like, I just, there was no audio going in.
Oh, God, I'm dying as well now.
Alright, what was the last thing you heard me say? The technical difficulties here. I may edit that out in post, but...
Okay, so you said they stopped people from being able to buy, but they could still sell.
Right,
so
which
it had to go down.
Yeah, which was a guarantee that the stock price was going to decrease. Now these apps have had lawsuits leveled against them because that's, I mean, it's essentially market manipulation, which, ironically, is what they were accusing the fucking dumbasses on Reddit of doing. Oh, and now politicians are getting involved, and you've got... Yeah, it's just... They eventually did open up trading. There was one trading app that banned buying and selling, and that one made sense. They actually had some logic behind that, because...
They're going to freeze the assets kind of thing.
Well, because they're... The firm... Like, when you purchase or sell a trade, what happens, or a stock, is it goes through whatever... brokerage you're using. Then it goes to a clearinghouse, which it waits for a little bit, does the actual exchange, verifies the money's there, and then you either get your money or you get your stock. But trades happen more rapidly now. So the clearinghouse essentially has to have collateral in hand to cover that trade. Normally the collateral is only like something like 10 to 20% of the value of the stock, or maybe less. I don't remember. I heard somebody else talking about this. Take this all with a grain of salt. I feel like I should specify that we are not in any way qualified to talk about this.
Yeah,
like,
tick that bingo box. You've got
it. we are not in any way qualified to give financial advice or to talk about this. This is a layman's understanding from me. So my understanding is that this house, when they stopped it, the clearinghouse on the back end, they need to have a certain amount of collateral so they can guarantee the trade. Unfortunately, this was changing like value so quickly on, I think it was Thursday. They literally, the collateral needed was raised to 100% the value of the stock. So suddenly these brokerages needed like literally billions of dollars to cover all of the trades that were going on. GameStop at one point was worth, it was the most highly valued company. It was worth more than Apple and Tesla. Like, it was the most traded stock in the world on Thursday. Or maybe it was Wednesday, one of those days. So it got ridiculous. So that at least makes a little bit of sense. What people are pointing out is that if you need collateral for any sort of trade, why was only buying banned on some of these apps? So that's the that's kind of the controversy that came out of this. Now you've got politicians jumping in and saying, "Oh, we need more regulation," and then you have other politicians jumping in and saying stuff like, "It's like
it's over controlled and stuff like that." Yeah.
Well, there's been a few. Some of the more populist people in the U.S., both Democrat and Republican, coming out and saying, "Hey, you know what? You fuck these Wall Street guys. We don't need to help them." It's like these random people on the internet just followed the rules and caught them with their pants down. It's like the last time something like this happened was 2008 when, again, Wall Street crashed the economy. And you know what? They got bailed out. But so now now it's become more political because now it's people going, or people talking about pointing out the kind of the hypocrisy. It's like, if you can't make a house payment, does the bank close until you can get your money together? No, it doesn't. They just take your house. But now, because these hedge funds are losing fuckloads of money, they closed trading, essentially, or heavily restricted it so they could get their shit together. It's... The hypocrisy has now made this a more political issue. Before it was just like... First it was a financial tip, then it was a goofy meme, and now it's become almost a crusade.
Yeah.
So that's the very long-winded explanation. I'd love to hear your thoughts at this point.
My thoughts, okay. The economy on RuneScape makes more sense to me. Okay, so I know everyone. There's a big split of people. Most of them are on the side of doing stocks and shares isn't gambling, but I kind of think it is a bit. And this is a particular example where it was more of a gamble. Like, what started all this was someone trying to cheekily edge past the rules, and they got caught on it, and now they're paying the price.
Yeah, that's a good approximation.
Normally, people don't consider stocks and shares gambling because most of the time it's a pretty certain chance that whatever you're bidding into is going to go up, right, in value.
If
you're smart.
If you're smart, like, all the financial information is public information. You can look it up, and there's plenty of publicly available experts who will kind of assess a company's financials. Does it look good? Does it look bad? There's always risk, because, like, people at the beginning of 2020, airlines were a good investment, and then the pandemic hit. Now they're a shit one. But you go on. Yeah, that's a good assessment.
I was just gonna say, I remember back in my old job, a couple of my co-workers were arguing. One was big into the stock market, and the other was super anxious about the whole thing because they didn't trust their money into something as intangible as stocks. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a midpoint between the two. If I know about a particular thing that's doing well or badly, then yeah, I would invest. But where it comes to something like GameStop, which obviously I have no idea about because it's American to start with, I don't think I would put my faith in the people of Reddit to make a decision for me.
Yeah, and that's a disclaimer that should be out there. In the what was it? The description of that subreddit, like their intro description is, it's like if 4chan got a Bloomberg terminal.
Right.
And
what's a Bloomberg terminal?
Bloomberg is a financial institution.
Oh, okay.
And they do a lot of stock trading. So I agree. And I think that's the takeaway. That's kind of the
guys, I've lost you again. God fucking damn it.
Hello.
Yeah,
hello.
I can hear you.
I don't know what is going on with this thing. I'm gonna need to
switch to your other mic.
I can't. I'm already recording on this one.
We'll try the other mic for the next segment, maybe.
No, I'm just going to restart everything to try and get it working again. I don't know what's going on with this thing.
Okay.
This is really weird. When it cut out, I had just like bumped my desk. I'm wondering if there's a loose connection somewhere.
Yeah, loose cable.
Yeah. Sorry for the potentially bad audio quality from me on this segment.
The
But
Professionalism is real.
well, I mean, we've been doing this for half a year. It's time for all the equipment to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's sort of the point of that subreddit, though. It's a bunch of layman investors. You know, some of the ideas they give are sensible, some of the ideas they give are crazy, but that's what you know going in. I don't think anyone should be taking any... Like, at this point, it's become... When I say it's become like a crusade, we're beyond sensible. Like, there's a guy who made $20 million on GameStop stock. And he's holding on to it. He's holding on to it. He's not selling it because now it's become about sticking it to these hedge funds. The moment they tried to like shut down the market and whine to politicians and cry about how this is terrible for the poor billionaire investors. And the funny thing is, there's billionaires on the side of the fucking Reddit bros. Like, you've got Elon Musk. There's a American-Canadian investor who's also a billionaire who threw a few $100,000 into it. And he's already said that, you know, when he comes out on the other end of this, if there's profit, he's going to donate it all to charity. Like, it's become like a genuine unifying moment, which is fascinating to me.
I mean, they're still going to make profit off of the fame of it all anyway. Like, it's not just the raw profit of...
Yeah, I mean, there's that too. It does something to their popularity.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that in Elon Musk's case, that guy is just... He's turning himself into some sort of semi-messianic Tony Stark figure.
Yeah, everyone likes the guy.
Yeah. Well, there's a few people who don't like him, but...
Well, yeah, there's a few. But, like, considering how many super rich people there are out there and how many people have animosity towards them.
Yeah.
And yet he seems like the kind of guy... He wouldn't be out of place, like, I don't know, flipping burgers at McDonald's, right? He had that nice conversation kind of thing. Pretty down-to-earth guy. Pun not intended. But yeah, no, he's this crazy Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne's a little bit more broody. That's why I compare him to Tony Stark, because he's always coming out with these He made a company just about digging holes in California.
Yeah.
He made a company that sells a flamethrower. And hats. Like... It's just... I don't even... That's why I go with, because he does seem to have this erratic and kind of sardonic sense of humor too. It just I've seen interviews with the guy, and he just it wasn't supposed to be about him, but he's become a part of all this, and he's hanging on for the long run. Who knows how much he's bought? But yeah, he's a billionaire meme lord. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, an inspiration for many.
Oh my god. But yeah, so that's what's been going on. I don't think I've laughed as hard or as long at anything since this all started. It's just been fucking hilarious from start to finish.
Nice.
Oh god.
Oh, you ready for another?
Yeah. I think
super political conversation.
I could totally like go on about this for hours just because I find it so fucking funny. The meme. Yeah. Oh no! One last thing before we go. The memes coming out of it are fucking hilarious. Did you saw the Warhammer 40K one?
Oh.
It was in.
I
it was
think
in
you're talking about the sea shanty.
Oh, that's true. They also did they made a sea shanty.
Oh, the orc one. Yeah.
But somebody posted this. The stock market works so, bit of nerdy lore from Warhammer 40K. The orcs are a faction in that universe, and basically their technology works because they believe it works, and the more of them believe it works, the better it'll work.
Yeah, we don't mean like praying or anything.
No, just like they think collectively as a species that if you paint a car red, it goes faster, and therefore, if they paint a car red, it will go faster.
Yeah.
And the more of them believe it, the faster it'll go. So this is the post. The stock market works exactly how Warhammer 40k orc vehicles are powered by the orcs believing that they work. And it's just a picture of an orc in, like just a black and white suit with a tie. And it's the fucking, like, stocks going up meme. This doesn't translate too well into an audio format, but I probably laughed for a good 10 minutes when I saw that.
Yeah. God, you gotta love the orcs.
They are.
No, I can't go into that. I can't go into this subject because it'll take us forever.
Okay. What was your topic?
Okay, there is a couple of YouTube videos that have been cropping up on my YouTube recently, and they kind of frustrate me, and it keeps coming up, and so I feel like I needed to bring this to the attention of our listeners. Because obviously it's so important that multiple people have made fucking videos about it. And that is the social curse that is apparently manspreading. Right?
Oh my god, well that's a throwback to 2015.
I'm getting so many fucking videos coming up on YouTube about it, and I don't understand why.
Why has that come back, like, from the dead? That was I remember seeing videos about people complaining about that.
Yeah, I think
like
I actually
3
sent
years
you
ago.
one, like, last month or something, because that's when it started. This like news person. I think it was fucking BuzzFeed.
Oh, of course it's fucking BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed is cancer.
I think it was, but yeah. And they were on a New York subway or something, and they were going up to men who had their legs slightly open. And they were like, "Do you realize that you're manspreading right now?"
To which they responded, "Zip."
They were, they had a fucking camera on them. I feel so bad for them because they weren't even. It's not like they had a freaking gaping wide legs or anything. They weren't like pushing anyone else. They weren't particularly anyone else's space. They went up to like an old man and did this. And I'm like, what kind of asshole does that to an old man? Anyway. And what kind of tipped me over the edge with me wanting to talk about this on the podcast is because the last thing that came up was someone invented a chair to stop manspreading.
I saw. Oh, okay. This I think I've seen.
And also a chair to make women manspread. Which is just so fucking weird. Okay, so it's not a... You alright?
I'm just trying to think how that isn't, like, something you'd find in a fucking sex dungeon.
It's just weird. Like, why would you... If you're trying to stop people from spreading their legs, why are you trying to make women spread that? I mean, maybe it's just an ingenious plot by a guy who's very...
Well, it's like how the push-up bra was invented by a guy,
Oh, right.
Well, I think it's the last bit, the whole make women spread their legs thing is just it's in all likelihood it's probably like a feminist vengeance sort of thing. There's...
Well, I'd like to say these chairs were made by a guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were.
To prevent people from that. So, first of all, for people who have no idea what the fuck we're talking about, which should be the vast majority of the population because it's an absolutely retarded idea. I was trying to find another word, but no, I think that one fits perfectly. The idea is that men who sit in those tiny fucking seats that they have on buses and subways and stuff have their legs too far apart, and it crowds out people next to them.
And also, it's an irksome image to look upon.
Yeah. So,
to put it nicely.
As someone who owns a pair of testicles, like... It's extremely uncomfortable to sit with your legs, like, really close together on those tiny, tiny seats they have on subways. Like, I'm not a big, like, person. Like, I don't have a lot of girth as it were. Like
He's not a thick boy.
I'm not a thick boy. I do have thick legs though. All those squats. But no, that being said, it's very uncomfortable to sit like that. So you got to spread at least a little bit. But you do see the occasional example of someone being an absolute jackass and like sitting with their feet like 6 feet apart, like. But normally
6 feet apart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the
That's
like long.
Bigger than you, Kaiser.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm being exaggerating, more like 3 or 4 feet, but still, they like. But I've only ever seen people do that when like the subway car is almost empty, and there's no one on it, and there's plenty of room to spread out. So, yeah. But then, what are we gonna do something about shopping spreading? I've seen plenty of women who have like 18 shopping bags in the seats next to them. Like, what are we gonna do about them? Like, if I have a bunch of bags and stuff, I'm courteous. I put them on the floor. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. One of the people on that subway video where they had their wife's bag between their legs because they were like holding onto it for them. The person came over and gave that person a go, having
So here's my contention about this. I think that this is an issue that was unnecessarily gendered. Like, why can't we just say you're a jackass if you take up multiple seats and you're not obese? If you're obese, okay, fine, you can only hold your blubber in so much, but.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. That was a really bad way to put that. Sorry. No, but seriously, to put it in a more serious fashion, if you are obese, it's understandable that you're going to take up more than the seat that you're actually in, especially on, like I said, the tiny seats they normally have on subways.
Yeah.
But if you're like if you're like a normal body size and you are taking up multiple seats around you, either physically or with the crap that you have with you, that's not and it's a crowded subway. If it's empty, who gives a shit? But if it's a crowded subway and you're taking up multiple seats and there are people standing and you don't need to be, then yeah, you are being a dick.
Yeah. And I would like to say, alright, for now, let's just call it spreading, because I think we can agree that it's not specifically men that do it.
It isn't.
I am someone who does that, right? Because, and this is, again, going back to the whole crowded seats thing, my legs...
You have like 18-foot long legs.
Right? They quite often cannot fit. If it's on like a bus or something, quite often the seats are too close that I cannot put my legs straight.
Well, this was kind of the point that I was making earlier, like about it being uncomfortable. Yeah. Like I was a sprinter in high school. Like I can squat like nearly 300 pounds. Like I was we were making a joke. I have thick legs. And it is extremely uncomfortable to sit with my legs very close together. Not even uncomfortable, sometimes painful. So this is the other thing that people aren't taking into account. They think that they're just doing it, to be a dick to people around them. It sometimes isn't like...
Sometimes they don't have a choice, yeah.
Well, not that they don't have a choice. It's just the choice is to, inch in on somebody else's space nearby or be in pain.
Yeah. I have actually apologized to people in the past. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just
you
can't fit.
It's like, I'm sorry, my legs are cramping up here.
Yeah. Normally I'd like fold them under the chair, if I can. But then you kind of lose blood.
It's been kind of this is not related to this in particular, but it's sort of related. So the ceiling in my car, it's kind of low, and the seats can't be pushed down that much. It's funny whenever This was like a year or so ago. I was driving. I was up at Jesse's place, and I was driving him to pick up food for. I think we were. It was like a New Year's party for 2019 to 2020, and so I was driving him to the store to pick up like the food he'd ordered, and Jesse's a tall guy. He's about your height actually, maybe a little shorter. And he can't fit in the car. So his head is like touching the ceiling when he sits in my passenger seat.
Yeah.
I will admit to getting a bit of amusement out of that. But I think there are two issues with the whole man-spreading thing. One, you're attributing it just to one gender. When maybe because of physical discomfort, yes. There's pretty much only one gender that's going to be doing that because they're physically uncomfortable. But the problem is the person is taking up, more space than they actually need. Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
It's always perplexed me because this was something that was big back in like 2015, 16, and 17. That's when I first heard about it, and I actually hadn't heard about it since.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's more of a thing over here because we're a lot less. We we don't vocalize if we have an issue over here. We keep it down inside of us and let it boil over until we get home, and then we complain about it.
Yeah, that's that could be.
Whereas I feel like in America, if someone's like encroaching into space, you just be like, "Excuse me,"
yeah,
kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Or
you just kind of subtly shove them.
So yeah, sorry, that was a very kind of a very pointless topic, but one that's also kind of interesting to talk about.
A topic that, though pointless, filled the time.
Yeah,
it was a throwback for me. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, you were passionate about it.
Well, it's something that I heard a lot about and thought a lot about years ago.
Yeah.
So I already had a fairly well-formed opinion about it. It's just an opinion that I had to dust off because I haven't thought about it in years.
Right.
Oh, man. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about? We're right at the end of segment one.
Not particularly, I don't think.
All right. Well, then let's end it there. This will be the end of segment one of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you for listening, and you will hear us both again momentarily. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment two, our media segment, and this week we did not do movie night.
We didn't. It was too busy.
It was, but I have a movie for sneak preview. The movie I have planned for us to watch is Spaceballs.
Yes. Comedy.
Well, I mean, I figured after a horror movie, comedy is probably the next step, especially since it parodied the movie that we watched.
We're doing it. We're doing odds and evens with comedy and horror at the moment.
Yeah, I know. There hasn't been really a middle ground. I have some ideas for a movie night, but we can talk about that off air. You have a topic to start us.
I do. Something that made me giggle a bit this week. I was going to Steam to play some Rainbow Six Siege.
For the people who don't understand that joke, this is
yes.
my stupid tendency to take the name of a game and slightly change it to make it sound stupid. Rainbow Six Siege is a video game that I have often referred to as Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
And yeah, I got onto the Steam store, was about to boot up, and then I saw this cracker of a notification from Rainbow Six Siege.
A white person?
What?
A cracker? A white person? Sorry, it was a stupid joke. Go on.
Yes, it is. They have released the Rainbow Six Siege Code of Conduct.
Yeah.
Code of Conduct.
But they're just gonna ban their whole player base.
Well, it's not just like this is bad behavior. In the Code of Conduct, they have illegal behavior.
Wow.
And they're setting down the laws.
The Ubisoft police are gonna come out.
Safety first. The safety of our players, partners, employees are our highest priority. Ubisoft does not tolerate threats, harassment, discrimination, endangerment, doxing, stalking, illegal stuff.
Okay, so they're basically just gonna ban everyone that plays a shooter on the internet.
Well,
Like, all of those things were just a normal part of a Halo 2 game when I was growing
threats,
up.
definitely, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the do's and the don'ts. There are 2 do's, and they are: 1, educate yourself and respect local laws. Alright, local laws. What the fuck does the local law in your area have to do with playing Rainbow Six
You know
Siege?
what? I am going to call the Massachusetts Attorney General, and I'm going to ask her, what do your laws say about playing shooter games on the internet?
Right, you need to educate yourself, Kaiser, with that shit. That's right. And respect the laws. And the second do is report any illegal or suspicious activity that you see. How much illegal activity do you see
The
on Rainbow
next
Six Siege?
time I see you playing Rook and snorting cocaine on one of the maps, then I'm going to report you then and there.
Yeah, we're playing as like, oh my god, how do you see illegal activity on a game? How do you do that?
You don't. I mean,
That's
we're
what I
shooting
mean.
each other in the face. Is that's illegal
Yeah,
activity?
Right?
I'd like to report a murder. I saw it on a video game.
He shot the hostage.
It's so fucking stupid.
Fuse put like an explosive charge on the room with the hostage in it. That's illegal, right? Jesus
I mean, sometimes
Christ.
I shoot you in the back just because it's funny. Like, is that illegal?
And now the don'ts. The don'ts. Do not.
I feel like this list is going to be longer.
It's only 3 things.
Oh, well, slightly longer.
Engage in or encourage any form of illegal activity. Again, how can
you know what?
help someone do something illegally?
I
on
don't
a
know
game?
if you knew this, but fucking Al Qaeda is using Rainbow Six Siege to coordinate.
Don't put anyone in danger or make them feel unsafe. How are you gonna make someone? It's a game. You can't put anyone in danger because it's a game.
Maybe people who have problems distinguishing reality from games.
Okay.
There are people who like legitimately think Voldemort is real. So
People with mental health disabilities aside, like, because that's the only. I can imagine if someone's having a really shitty day and they ended up being like, "Oh, I want to do a forever sleep," then
yeah, thank you for that YouTube safe description.
yeah. Then okay, I get how you don't want to put someone in danger in that way, but
Yeah, no,
there's not much you can do. Just don't be a jackass.
I mean, it's a shooter game on the internet. People are gonna be jackasses, but don't be cruel. I think that's what it comes down to. But
Yeah.
even being cruel, that's not illegal.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I guess if someone like came online and they said that they were going to, like, harm themselves in some way, and they sounded serious, and everyone in the chat was all going along and going like, "Hey, yeah, fucking do it, go for it." Okay. I mean, but to be fair, that's how I'd expect the internet to react. That's how people would have reacted on Halo 2. Back when I was on Xbox Live, and it's just
not good, but you can't really stop it.
Yeah, you can't stop people from being assholes. Like, I mean, you can stop people from being assholes in one way, through like kind of social shame, basically. Like, oh, come on, man, don't be like that. But
and that's normally how these things play out. If someone goes across the line, generally the whole team knows it, and they're like,
yeah, oh,
either kick them or tell them off.
There was a I remember. So I'm gonna tell a little anecdote. So this is from Halo 2. Back, because I'm referencing that because that was like peak internet. You can say whatever the fuck you want. So this was like 2006 or so, probably. So I'm playing Halo 2, And in the game, it was a 4-person game. I was playing with one of my friends, and then there was this other, there was this little kid and this other rando, and the little kid like was doing bad, and the other guy was making fun of him. He started literally crying into the mic.
Yeah.
And the other guy was just making fun of him more and more, just like, oh, you cry, you little bitch, you suck at this game. So we didn't. My friend and I started team killing this guy, the guy who was doing it to the little kid.
Yeah.
So every time he would respawn, we'd find him, blow him up, shoot him in the head, do whatever, and then just teabag his body. Because, I mean, he went over the line. But that's how you handle it. You don't throw down, like, these edicts from above. You have to have, like, a healthy community, a healthy player base. Anyway, sorry, just a little tangent. So what's the third don't?
The third don't, and this is what I think the whole thing is actually technically about. Do not pretend to be another player or a Ubisoft employee. I think this is what the whole fucking thing was about. I think someone has been going around saying, I'm a Ubisoft employee, I can get you banned, kind of thing.
Alright, third time's the charm. This was the big thing on Xbox Live, is people like, I'm gonna get you banned, my uncle works for Microsoft.
Yeah, it's so much bollocks.
Oh my god.
Yeah, then it goes through toxic behavior, cheating and unfair advantages.
I mean, cheating, yeah, ban people for that. Toxic behavior, I mean, again, you're playing a competitive game on the internet. Toxic behavior is a given.
Yeah. And then it comes to investigation and sanctions. Sanctions can include, but are not limited to, restricted access to certain services, suspensions, and bans at game or at account level. We did... yeah, you need to hold yourself accountable. Yeah, normal stuff. There's not particularly strong sanctions. Just if you're too much of an asshole, we'll just take away your account and you can't play the game. And then you'll just make a different account and keep playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, what is it? CSGO took that kind of stance against, people, and they took a really hard stance against cheaters, and people still cheat. They just cheat, and then they make a new account, and then they cheat again. I don't give a fuck.
And the final section, which is a very small section, it's got... I think it's meant to be reassuring, but it comes across kind of creepy. It says, moderation, we're looking out for you. And I read that as, we're looking for you.
Yeah, that is...
You're responsible for all actions and any comments you make in-game, on our forums, or within our other Ubisoft services. To protect our community's representatives and partners, we may remove any and all content published by you that is in breach of this code of conduct or our terms of use.
Part of me likes to think that when they made that post on their forums, the whole, responses to it were just nothing but people telling them to fuck off.
Well, there are 459 comments.
Oh? Let me... How accurate was I? What do we have?
So, a lot of them are one-word answers.
Are those not nice words?
Someone went with the good old first.
Oh my god.
A lot of people saying basically don't cheat, please.
That's... They could have just said that, but they're going with, this...
Lol, Ubisoft bad.
They're just going with this, Gestapo shit. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I won't belabor the point too much. I think I made my point clear while you were reading it.
Yeah.
I've said this in the past, and I think this was summarized really well in a Donkey video. He was talking about the first time he logged into Xbox Live, and he got on and he said, "Hey guys, let's do this," and a whole bunch of people started shouting at him, "Hey, you little baby bitch, shut the fuck up!" And and then he was just like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, I remember. I've actually seen that video.
It's that was my reaction too. I logged into my first Xbox Live game was Mech Assault, which big mech arena fighting game. and I logged in there and I started just talking to people, and it was just non-stop belligerent trash talk.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was fucking awesome. And I don't know, it just, maybe I'm getting old, but the internet has become a little bit more policed now, and it's boring.
I think the biggest thing to take away from this post that they put up is that everything that is said on there has either already been in effect since the game has been out, or is so flipping obvious that everyone should know it anyway. So I feel like they're trying to cover up for something that they've done bad. And now this is like, we need to put out something saying that we are actually good guys.
Yeah, I can see that it's a very political statement.
Yeah, now I'm wondering what they've done wrong. That's what I take from that.
Yeah, it's a very, very corporate, very political statement. All right. Well, so moving on from that.
Yep.
To follow up from last week, I've been watching more of The Expanse. So much more of The Expanse. I think when we did last week's podcast, I had seen just season 1 and a little bit of season 2. Since then, I've watched all of season 2, all of season 3, and I'm on the last episode of season 4. I cannot stop watching this show.
Yeah, this is why I haven't seen you for the whole week.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't been online because the moment I finish work, I'm like, I'm going to watch more Expanse.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, I thought about this statement for a while, and now I think I'm pretty certain of it. This may be the best sci-fi show I've ever seen.
Oof.
Like, my favorite sci-fi show that I've ever seen. I should say that. There's other sci-fi shows that have done certain things better, like better sci-fi, better...
Are there aliens in it?
They're, to an extent. But they, again, just like everything else with the sci-fi in the series, they take it in a realistic direction.
Okay,
so
they're not cheesy aliens.
They're not cheesy aliens. They really feel alien. Because a lot of other series will be like, oh, all these aliens they're very similar to humans in some way, or they think similar to humans, and humans are able to communicate with them.
Generally.
Not only that, but even like even if they don't look human at all, they still are able to interact with humans on like our terms. It's very different in this show. So the realistic sci-fi, especially the physics in this show, are really, really well represented. Like how they have to deal with inertia, how ships would actually have to travel through the solar system. It's all just very, very well handled. Like the effects of inertia on the human body, like when people are accelerating or decelerating rapidly.
Yeah.
All very, very well done. One thing I will say, and this is something that it's been a while since I ragged on Amazon, so I'm going to right now. For whatever reason, the subtitles, by default, are on and in Danish. Like,
yeah. It's not like a VPN or something.
No. It's not. I don't have a VPN. So
okay.
I've tried on every platform. I've watched it. So in my bedroom, I got a PS4. I got an Xbone in the living room, and I've also watched it on my phone.
Yeah.
On all of them, and it's not the spoken subtitles. It's whenever there's a written word on the screen, like. I like it'll be like it'll say like Saturn 5 days later, and then at the bottom of the screen it'll have Saturn 5 days later in Danish.
Right. I assume you can turn that off though, right?
So what I have to do every episode, and if I forget, it turns itself back on again. Every single episode, I have to go to the subtitles, turn them on and off, because they're listed as off, but it still does it. But if I turn them on and off, then it stops. But then the next episode, they're on by default again, even though they say they're off. So I don't know what Amazon has done, or why it thinks why it thinks I'm in the fucking Netherlands.
You've been buying too many pastries.
Clearly. But but that's the one like annoying thing. But the series itself has been absolutely amazing. I love the way they're portraying. The characters are well written. The world is well built. The politics in it are realistic and
I think you
like,
mean the universe, not the world.
that's okay, fine, fair point. But the politics in it make a whole lot of sense. Like, it seems like I don't know if they got like a number of, because it's based on a book series, so I'm wondering if either the guy who wrote the books had a lot of knowledge about politics and physics and writing, or if he talked to people who did. But the politics are very believable. The physics are very realistic. The characters are extremely well developed. And the show doesn't fall into a trap that I see so many shows fall into now. And I'm thinking of one scene I saw last night in season 4. There's an interaction between what's essentially the head of the Earth government and her husband, right? First of all, she is one of my favorite characters in the entire series. She was a voice actor in Mass Effect, actually. That's where I know her from. But this is the first time
which Mass Effect?
Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Oh, thank God. You didn't say Andromeda.
No, not Andromeda. She played one of the minor characters that were part of the Quarians. She was an admiral. The people with the suits on. The people
the like alien looking ones.
Well, they couldn't take their breather suits off because they would they had lived on ships their whole life and whatnot.
I can't remember that.
All right, I'll show you after the podcast. But
okay.
She was a voice actor in that, a fairly minor character, but still, great performance. So I recognized she has a very distinct voice, so I recognized her right off the bat. It's the first time I've seen her in a movie, and she is one of the most awesome characters in this entire show. She is both ruthless and clever and just a very interesting character to watch. She has this interaction with her husband during a political race that she's involved in now, because she's having to deal with re-election at the same time as Earth and Mars have just gone out of war, but now there's a new political faction that's putting a lot of pressure on Earth. There's terrorist attacks and stuff, and they've got this new expansion outside the solar system to deal with. It's there's a lot of tension going on, and she's got to deal with this at the same time. And she makes a political move that her husband doesn't necessarily like, because he thinks it's very callous and uncaring and cruel.
Sounds like drama. Go on.
It is drama, but the thing is, a lot of shows fall into the trap of taking a side. This show doesn't do that. In some cases it does, but this show doesn't really do that. It portrays the scene neutrally. She makes her points, he makes his points, and it's left up to the audience to look at the wider picture and figure out who you think is right.
Okay.
And it does that with a lot of different scenes and a lot of different characters where they're portrayed neutrally. They have these conflicts and they have these interactions where you get to know the characters better, and sometimes they do very morally questionable things, and it's kind of left up to you as the audience to go, well, were they right to do that? And sometimes I found myself agreeing and disagreeing with characters that I like and dislike throughout the whole series, and it's a very engaging mode of storytelling. And I don't know who was the writer for this show, who the writers for this show were, but they need a fucking award, because we need more TV shows like this. Because especially after some of the brain dead TV that I've seen coming out in more modern times in recent years, this is just brilliant, and I cannot talk it up enough.
Well, I mean, okay, you mentioned it kind of, it's still going at a sterling pace.
I mean,
I was just going to say that the Sons of Anarchy has kind of dropped off for me a bit.
that's the thing that surprised me. Is normally like they're shows that I've binged, and Vikings was one of them. Vikings kind of slowed down for me around the beginning of season 4, and that's where I stalled out on it. I'm going to pick it back up again once I finish this series, but that's what happened. Was like I was blowing through it and I was loving it, and then it kind of petered out a little bit.
Yeah, the issue I've had recently is that I kind of go to Netflix for two reasons. Either I'm bored and I want something to like just mindlessly watch for a bit,
Yeah.
or I want cheering up kind of thing, right? And I don't know why I thought Sons of Anarchy would cheer me up, but I was on there like literally. I went on there at one point thinking, yeah, some Netflix will cheer me up, and the first things that came out of the show's mouth was like, death, sorrow, decay. And I was like, oh fuck, what am I doing?
I mean,
that was the first words of an episode.
You're talking to the wrong person here. I mean, I'm a person that I'm cheered up by tragedy. Like I like watching like really depressing movies when I'm sad. It cheers me up.
And I like a little bit of that as well, but after I'm on the 6th season now out of 7.
Oh god.
And the issues that keep coming up, they're becoming more and more far-fetched why they would be an issue. Like, the current problem, this is spoilers, whatever, is that one of the characters who are associated with the motorcycle club stabs a nurse to death.
Oh,
and
God.
then suddenly the older brother of that nurse happens to be an ex-detective who's super badass and messed up, and so he's like the whole season's villain is there just because one person got stabbed, but
it gets
like,
to the point
every
where
episode, like 3 people get killed at some point.
it gets to the point where the plot is based on convenience and contrivance rather than anything that actually makes sense.
Exactly. It's like some of the problems that they have are like ridiculously impossible to get out of, and I'm like, there's no way that you could sort of get through that, but they do. On the other hand, their ability to get out of situations, like when everything's said and done, they could just fuck off out of there like they'd always planned to, but they never do.
So I'm gonna quote the critical drinker here, the YouTuber. He has one phrase that I love for exactly that circumstance is the plot needs the script. Oh no, the script needs the plot to happen.
Yeah.
And that sounds that basically they thought of what the plot was going to be before they figured out how the hell it could possibly happen.
But I'm told that season 7 is actually the end of Sons of Anarchy. So I'm actually kind of intrigued as to what happens.
Yeah.
Also, the biggest fucking asshole in the whole series, this is my own fault in some way. I kind of spoiled it for myself, I think.
Yeah.
The ex-leader of the club, who's a total dickwad, and he screws over everyone constantly. In Payday 2, he's a character. Which means he's still alive at the end of the fucking series. So even though I want him to die so badly, and every time it looks like he's about to die, I'm like, but he can't die. And then he doesn't die. And it pisses me off every time.
There is...
yeah.
That's an interesting kind of dynamic. There's a few shows and movies that I've watched where ostensibly the protagonist of the show is just so unlikable that I think by the end of the movie I'm just like, oh, come on, why has no one killed this fucker yet?
Yeah.
And they get out and I remember so it was there's a few different situations where this happened. One was in like one of the first ones was an anime. Uh, and Yi has gotten on my case about this because he actually kind of liked it. Uh, Gundam Double Zero. The Mobile Suit Gundam series are like kind of a for reference, it's a Japanese animation where essentially in the future giant mechanical suits are made. So we're talking like two-story building size. They have a pilot inside of it, and they're humanoid, and they use them to fight. It's essentially like a giant walking tank. A series called Gundam Double Zero, and the quote-unquote protagonists of the show I found so utterly unlikable that I was just hoping for them to die the entire series.
In Gundam, they quite often do, though, don't they?
Well, it depends. They did die at the end of the series. Spoiler alert. And I was so happy. That was the good ending. And they made a follow-up series, and I didn't even want to watch it because I'm like, nope, that was the end of the series. They died. I'm happy. Yay. Like, I just, it was not. The thing is, they've followed a similar model with other Gundam animations where they've had protagonists that were kind of anti-heroes, but they were well written enough to actually make them fun and interesting to watch, and you could still kind of root for them even though they weren't really good people. This was not like that. These were just, if you gave an angsty teenager who listened to too much My Chemical Romance power, that's what these guys were like.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's a dated reference too.
No. It's my brother had My Chemical Romance CDs.
Yeah, I know. But it just a little tangent there. I think that's equally a failure of writing. When your protagonist is so unlikable that your audience wants you to like kill him off and you don't.
Yeah, I get you. I've been that way with quite a few animes. Shall I quickly bring us on to our final, the final part I had?
Yeah. We're just about to hit 30 minutes, so you've got some time. Let's go.
Okay, so I was playing. I've been starved for games. Actually, I haven't been starved for games. I've been restless for games, and so I've gone back and done a bit of Overwatch. You've probably noticed.
If I had the hard drive space, I've actually been thinking about playing that again too.
Yeah, well, is that because Nova's in the game now?
No, that's not Nova.
Thick Nova.
Yeah, thick Nova.
And I quite like the arcade games that they do in there. What I don't like is the people on Overwatch. And I know you can say that about a lot of competitive online games. But
I gotta tell a story quickly, and this may be a preface to what you're doing. Again, I'm gonna reference a Donkey video.
Okay.
His review of E3. He closed out Overwatch 2. When he was talking about Overwatch 2 in his little review of E3, he's like, Overwatch 2 is coming out. I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to get yelled at again.
Yeah. Like it's a children's game. Like it's on the same level of as Fortnite, where it's cartoony. There's no like viscera.
I'd say it's a teen and tween game.
Yeah.
So we're talking like maybe probably their target player base is somewhere between the ages of 10 and 23.
It's violent without being graphic.
Yeah, there you go.
And so I jumped into a game and I got so angry because I'm about to send you a few images, guys, because I took screenshots at the time because like I was so mad. This was the first team that I was on. Now, an Overwatch team normally the ideal scope is 2 healers, 2 tanks, and 2 assassins. What I've just sent Kaiser is basically
5 assassins.
Well, actually, one of them is technically a healer, but that healer also has a grenade launcher, so I don't really consider them a healer. And then I cut off myself on that. I was playing as a tank, so I think I really like tanks in games at the moment.
Tanks are that's my particular role, especially when I'm playing like MOBAs.
What's
tanks
worse
are bruisers.
Is that we won that round. And it was not because of the Widowmaker. It was not because of any of the other jackasses. It was because the enemy team did the exact same thing, but I was a tank. So they couldn't kill me, and then the rest of my team just pile-drived the shit out of them. Just because we had an equal level of damage, but we actually had a single modicum of health. Which they did not. The next thing, which really got on my goat, you know how I told you, Kaiser, how when you're going into these games on ranked, you can do what's called a flex role select, where the game will give you a ticket which allows you to play any game mode you want and get into a game faster. But for the game that you're currently playing, you have to take whatever the
team doesn't have. And I honestly, once you describe that to me, I think it's a very
good idea.
It's a very good idea because it organically encourages people to take less popular roles.
Yeah. Now look at that picture I just sent you, and look at the time under the assassin class. So for everyone else out there. To get into a normal game of ranked on Overwatch without a ticket or anything, it takes 19 minutes. That's about the size of an entire goddamn game just to get into a game.
I think what's more important is the other two roles, the ones that aren't that assassin class, the tank or the healer. Yep. They're 2 minutes or 4 minutes, respectively.
Yes. And the priority pass ticket that you get, which basically allows you to skip the queue, is 14 minutes. So yeah, they knock 5 minutes off of the wait time, but it's still 14 minutes with a priority pass to get into a game as an assassin.
So this is something I don't think... I think that ranked or like role queue is not a good model for Overwatch. I really don't. Yeah. So... To give the non-gamers listening perspective, Overwatch is a game. It's a role-based first-person shooter. There are 5 people on a team. There are different classifications of characters. 6. Is there 6?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. There's 6. Whatever. I don't play it. There's tanks. There's healers. There's support classes. There's assassins, as Blue calls them, or basically people who are their whole point is to do DPS, damage per second. Now, originally the way it was set up was you would start a game and then everyone would just choose their characters in it, and you'd kind of negotiate with your team and figure out what your team needed and switch back and forth. Now, they force you to queue into a game as what you want to do. Damage, support, tank. And then you're stuck playing characters of that type, regardless of how the game goes. I don't think that suits Overwatch, because one of the best things...
There is a version of ranked mode where you can go anything, and everyone can go anything.
Okay, that's a lot better then. I'm glad that they added that back in. Because they didn't for a long time. That wasn't there. That's why I stopped playing. Because one of my favorite things about it was that in ranked, if the situation called for it, you could go like, okay, guys, we all need to go tank. Let's just, we need to hold them here. And you could switch your entire team to 4 tanks and a shooter and hold the line. Or if you needed to make, a desperate push, you could go 5 damage dealers and a support or something like that. And... it allowed a level of dynamism that isn't available in the current, in the role queue model.
Yeah. Are you ready for the next thing?
All right. Well, keep in mind, we're already at about 35 minutes.
I'm aware. But this is quite fucking hilarious.
All right, I'm ready.
Next image I'm sending you And bear in mind, the white connecting bars mean that they're on the same team.
Okay, so it's... Oh my god, so it's 6 people all on the same team.
Not just that, they have two level... they have a level 991,
Jesus.
a level 791. That top left one, I didn't even know that was a rank until... I'm assuming, because that's above gold, so they've gone through all the bronzes, that's 500 levels, silver, another 500, gold, another 500.
It's basically somebody who's played it every day since release.
I think this person is level 2099, right? The highest level person on our team was me, level 279. And they're all in a 5-man group. They have 3 people who are just ridiculously high level, and I'm assuming the other 3 are probably Smurfs.
Don't worry, matchmaking is fair.
And we have a level 7 and a level 8.
Again, don't worry, matchmaking is fair, just don't do anything illegal, right?
The matchmaking is garbage. And we have a squad as well of 2. They're a squad of 6.
Oh my god.
What were they thinking?
I wish you guys could see this image, because it is... But I mean, even if you could, it would be, maybe gibberish to the non-gamers out there. But seriously, This is a problem that a lot of games face.
We got fucking our teeth kicked in and they took our lunch money. Like, Jesus Christ, we were never gonna win that. Like, that's Grandmasters against poop tier.
Well, to be fair, yeah, it'd be
And I was
like...
the leader of the poop tiers.
Honestly, it'd be like if a chess grandmaster walked into a middle school cafeteria and kicked somebody's ass at chess. Like...
That is literally... It made me so mad.
Anyway.
And the final thing, because I know we are... I know I'm
Yeah. Come on, finish up.
I was playing an arcade one, and it was, I think, 3v3s. Actually, it might have been 6v6. And this is what happened after the first round. Like, the first round ended, and this is what the chat looked like.
Left the game, joined the game, left the game, AFK, joined the game, left the game.
That was after the first round. And that's because they have no penalty for leaving games. And they will put another person into the game where that person left. So,
okay,
the number of times I joined a game in the final round of a game because someone rage quit the game because they knew the team was going to lose, and then I joined the game in their place, I can't do anything because the round's already started. So I have to wait for the fucking defeat thing to come up.
And then you can leave, yeah. Blame Call of Duty for that. Call of Duty started it. I have been hating on this since 2009. I hate the model of like multiplayer shooter where you can leave anytime and they'll just put somebody else in, and those people get screwed because those people are now joining a game that is midway through that they had no hand in how shit it got.
Yeah, if they just put in the simple thing where it's like, you can't join another game until the first one has ended. Like, sure, you can quit out of the game,
but
then you still gotta wait for it to end.
Alright, so all the flaws with League of Legends, that's something that they do right. If you leave a game in League of Legends, you can leave it, and you can rage quit, but you cannot join a game until it has finished.
Yeah. I think that's the way it should be, because this has happened so many fucking times to me. I was on the winning team, so obviously those aren't my people leaving the game.
But it's infuriating. Call of Duty, I think it was Modern Warfare 2, or maybe it was Modern Warfare 1, which would have been Call of Duty 4. It was just... They started implementing this in terms of like competitive like console shooters, and I absolutely hated it. Halo had the model that I actually preferred, which was you get locked into a game. If somebody quits, they're gone. You don't get a new player that gets shunted in and fucked.
Yep.
You are there, and the team you have is the team you have. And if you leave, you get a penalty. Like you can't queue for another like 10 minutes or something like that. And I think that's the way to do it, because it encourages people to actually... If you have to leave for a legitimate reason, like, oh god, Grandpa's having a heart attack, leave the game and run off and, do something in real life. But if you're just leaving because you're, a sour loser and you're pissy, fuck yourself.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway.
But anyway, yes. Sorry, I've droned on for a very long time.
The ending of this segment has become like the gamer corner, but
It has.
I think that's good. We've been talking quite a bit lately about TV shows and movies, so I think we have been neglecting the gamer aspect of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I just spent the last 20 minutes hating on Overwatch. I do still like Overwatch, and when a game is going well, it's really fun.
I think that's a good point to make. We shit talked on Rainbow Six too and Ubisoft, but we both play that game a lot.
Yeah, we play it so much.
It's a fun game. It's just, but I think it's because we spend so much time playing that we notice the
flaws. Yeah,
exactly, and then want to voice them. It's there are
it's
flaws.
tough love.
Yeah, exactly. There are flaws on an otherwise fun and enjoyable gaming experience.
Yeah. But anyway. We do hate Twitter. Go on.
Oh yeah, Twitter. Well, I mean, I don't even use Twitter.
Well, I don't either. But actually. Anyway,
you technically use it for the podcast, but that's a necessary evil.
I flick to it every so often I want to see something funny.
Oh my god! All right. Well, this is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast, our media segment, which has been pretty much our gamer segment this week, with a little bit of TV intertwined in there. Thank you all for listening, and you'll hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are now on segment 3, our wild card. And this wild card segment, we're back to a segment that kind of came up as a whim. Long story short, where we embarrass
one of the few segments we actually found a name for quite quickly.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we pretty much had it like within the day.
Yeah.
This is the segment where we go and try and quickly describe what a piece of lore, literature, movie essentially is. Within, what was it, 2 minutes was the time that we were giving ourselves last time?
Was it 1 minute 30 or 2 minutes?
I think we started at 1 minute and then we kind of moved on. We thought that was maybe a little bit too short, so we went for 2 minutes 30.
Okay. Wait, 2 minutes 30? No, we don't need 2 minutes 30.
Alright, fine, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay, right. Do you have your stupid?
I don't, because I was just pouring myself another cup of tea.
Yeah, we did a bunch of prep for this before we started recording, and we both forgot the stopwatch.
Alright, I got my stopwatch up.
Okay,
oh
right.
My God.
Where's my dragon to hold my phone? There he is. Okay. We should, how are we going to decide who goes first?
I don't know, flip
Rock,
a coin.
paper, scissors?
Actually, you know
okay.
what? I have a dice right here. Even or
Okay.
odd. I got a D20 in true D&D fashion.
I'm pretty odd, I'll go with odd.
6. Wait, no, 9.
Get fucked!
It was actually you. Sorry.
Oh, the Lizdexia kicking in again. Bam!
Fuck off. So it's you first.
Okay, cool. Wait, does that mean I win, or is that...
We didn't... Oh my god. No, it means that I'm giving you something first. Or does it mean you're giving me something first?
I'm giving myself something first.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh.
Okay. Because... So, we've since last time established the rules. The first round, we each choose our own topic. And the second round, we give the topic to the other person, but it has to be something that they actually know about. And then the third round, we give them a topic they don't know anything about to watch them squirm.
Yeah, and see how close they get to the
actual. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're first, and you are picking your own thing. What are you going to be doing?
I was, as I said before we started, I've watched, read, and experienced so many stories, but I quite often forget the ins and outs of them over time. And I looked at my bookshelf and I saw a book by Walter Mörs, the same person who made the 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Blue Bear. It's not the 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Blue Bear, it's another one called Rumo. So Rumo is what I will be describing in the next 2 minutes.
I've never heard of this, by the way.
No, you won't have done, because it's a German novel.
Okay. Well, I had to read a few German novels when I took German.
This is possibly a bit bigger than someone who is learning German would.
Okay, fine.
read.
No, I'll let you go. Just, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Rumo is a book that follows the adventures from birth of a woolputting. That's a kind of species of dog-human thing. It's not a furry thing, don't worry. Called Rumo. He lives on the continent of Zamonia. He starts off with a family in a farmyard family. They're pretty rural. One day, the farmyard gets attacked by these pirate guys. The family gets murdered, I think, or sold into slavery. I can't remember which. And then Rumo is taken and put in a cell with a bunch of other captured creatures, rare, endangered, crazy creatures. And he's stuck on that rock, floating through the ocean with these slavers for a very long time. The slavers are basically kind of like Vikings. They go from village to village.
1 minute left.
Fuck. Okay. Eventually, he gets away from the slavers. He goes and finds his the homeland of the Woolputings, which I can't remember the name of it, but it's like this big fortress, and he ends up getting accepted by them. He learns sword fighting from his master, and he's tries going into the woodworking trade. Suddenly, one day, all of the Woolputings disappear. It turns out there's a tunnel in the middle of the village that leads to
30 seconds.
A fortress a mile under the ground. After going through a bunch of really dangerous caves and shit, he comes across this city that's full of mechanized robots that captured all the Woolputings. He's made to fight in an arena for the robots' entertainment. He gets a revolt going.
10 seconds.
Frees the Woolputings. He brings them back to the village. He has a love affair that I completely missed out. And I think he ends up living out the rest of his life happily in the village. Whew.
Time. All right. Honestly, just from the names that are assigned to the things that you were talking about, I was thinking of Ewoks.
No. Woolputing, you know what a knoll is, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, a Woolputing is basically a knoll.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do mine now. Do you have your timer ready?
Yep, I am ready. What's yours gonna be about?
I'm gonna do Warhammer 30K, basically the Horus Heresy.
The Horus Heresy. Okay.
Just let me know.
Count you down. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so previous to the Warhammer 40K universe, there was a Warhammer 30K universe. The Emperor of Mankind unified the world of Earth, which had been completely decimated by years of war and strife, and then went out to Mars, got Mars on its side, and created his sons, the Primarchs of the Astartes, these genetically engineered superhumans that were basically based off his own genetic material, enhanced humans. They were huge and they had not really special powers, but they could essentially they were living tanks, almost immortal human beings. They went out to do what was called the Great Crusade and reunite all of the vast human planets that had been cut off in a previous era. They conquered a bunch of them, put the civilization mostly back together, and then the Emperor went back to Earth to try and do something very specific. And he left, Horus in charge, one of the Primarchs. That Primarch then got corrupted by a servant of another Primarch, who decided that, fuck the Emperor, we're the king, and it caused a civil war between half the Primarchs. So basically, it split the civilization in half. It culminated in a giant battle that happened throughout the solar system. That Primarch, who had been corrupted by one of these chaos gods, fought the Emperor. The Emperor eventually won, but he was gravely injured. It caused the Empire, the Imperium man, to kind of fall into somewhat disarray and turn into a religious theocracy rather than a science-based empire of expansion. That's it.
8 seconds? Okay. Good.
I left out a lot of details, but
it was quite concise.
It's what I understand of it. To be fair, it's a 50-book series, and I'm currently on book 10. But I know
I was going to say, I know you haven't finished it yet.
I know I'm at the beginning and ending, and I've left out a lot of details, but that's the spark notes.
Yeah. Then.
All right, so we're on round 2 now, which is where we're telling each other to do our thing.
Yes. So what is mine that I have to describe?
Let's see. I have to think of something that you actually know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle enough for me coming up with something that I know. For me.
I'm tempted to ask you what the plot of Overwatch is. Because there is a plot.
Is there a plot?
There's a plot and there's a lore.
I know a little bit about, like, Genji and Hanzo.
Now, there's a whole, like, machine rebellion thing, like, buried in there. All right, let me think for a second and try to pull something out that you could. Are you terribly familiar with The Witcher?
You did that last week.
Oh, I did? Fuck. Well, not last week, but the last time we did this segment.
No, you didn't do it. I did it last week as the third segment.
Oh, that's right. I did make you do it.
Yeah.
What about the Game of Thrones series?
Ooh.
That might be.
Yeah.
Like, are you roughly familiar with it?
I mean, it's been like 5 years, and I only got up to a certain point, but.
Well, that's good, because I've only read up to a certain point. I don't want it to be spoiled for me.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
I'm going to give you that one. This is venturing into third round territory, but we'll say it's good. All right.
Yeah.
So 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the Game of Thrones starts out looking at this small group of this family, which basically runs an area of land called the Starks. And there's very strict rules, and if you break the laws there, they like cut your head off. But they are considered the good guys. A kind of a war starts up because they're like a landlord. Let's say a baron of a land, and the king who rules over all of the land dies, and so there needs to be an heir to the throne. But there's a lot of contention for who should be the next ruler of the land, so they step up as one of the parties with a lot of backing. But then one of the one of the opposing council ends up catching them on some, I can't remember the reason, but they ended up chopping the head guy's head off. Then there's the evil family's son bangs the daughter. There's a lot of contention between. They're trying to keep the whole thing secret, so they end up throwing one of the Stark's children off of a tower to keep the secret. There's a lot of hostility. Shit, I'm really struggling. The Starks get split up. The people start fighting on the enemy people like hating each other. Then Sansa becomes a wizard or something.
10 seconds.
And then Jon Snow is a bastard who has a big dire wolf. There's a red wedding where everyone gets stabbed. Jon Snow gets up the wall. Fuck!
I love that description so
fucked that
much.
Up so badly.
I love that. That is my favorite summary of the series, I think, ever.
remember like the specific parts of it, but I couldn't remember what order they came in.
So you did a remarkably good job when it came to the first two books, but then once you got to the third book, you were just like, it was just chaos.
Well, I was panicking. Sansa goes off to... Wait, Sansa's the annoying older one, isn't she?
Sansa's the annoying older one. She's the one that gets,
yeah.
like, essentially abused for, like, a year or so, and then she gets carted off to
I
her...
forgot to mention the bit where someone gets their privates...
That happens quite a few times.
Yeah, I try to think of a YouTube-friendly term.
Oh. Just
There's
say
not many ways
they got
say,
converted into being a eunuch.
Yes, they took a different way of life by force.
No, I mean, you did get a remarkable amount right, even if it was described in a hilarious way. So, what you were trying to go for is that, so the political situation overall, there are 7 kingdoms that are unified under one overlord, the king of the 7 kingdoms. They were originally 7 kingdoms, they were unified under one king. The Starks were one of the former kingdoms that had, they were the kings in the north. They had been essentially integrated into this, it's almost like the EU in a weird way. It's a bunch of nations that have been integrated into one, like, conglomerate.
The Starks are basically Scotland.
That's actually...
out of it.
No, that's... Well, I mean, so the inspiration for the Song of Ice and Fire series, which is what Game of Thrones is the name of the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. It's based off the War of the Roses, which, big war, barons versus the king. Quite good. Anyway, so me now.
Okay, how much do you know about the Doom storyline?
I mean, I read a bit of the lore from the game.
Okay. Okay, how much do you know about the Fallout storyline?
Quite a bit.
Okay, I think we'll go with Fallout then.
Okay, Fallout? Alright, tell me when.
Get my timer.
Yeah, let me refresh my cup of herbal tea.
Herbal tea?
Jirokucha. The Japanese botanical tea.
Yeah, not a tea drinker.
It's non-caffeinated. It's pretty good. But yeah,
okay.
Let me know.
Wait, sorry, say it again?
I said let me know when.
Okay, right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the world of Fallout deviates from our current timeline back in the 1950s or 60s when the transistor isn't invented. Essentially, it retards, like, computer technology, which means that the sort of nuclear age continues on, and nuclear becomes like the key technology of the world. It powers everything, but computer technology doesn't really advance. And in this world, the Cold War keeps going, essentially. So sometime in the 2070s, there is a conflict. The Soviet Union falls just like it does in the real world, but China kind of steps up again, just like it did in the real world, but it stays communist and it stays hostile. An oil war starts between the Middle East and Europe, and that causes that whole area to get fucked. So basically, the whole world is just U.S. and China. And
1 minute.
Okay, and then so there's an actual like war that happens because China invades Alaska, the U.S. nukes them back. We send over people in power armor. There's a 2-minute war, which is just nukes flying everywhere. And then that essentially levels the playing field. Now it's post-apocalypse. Little vaults are put in place all around the world, where these vaults are full of people who mostly are just guinea pigs, because the elites of the world wanted to go off and colonize another planet, and they were using them to figure out how people would deal with confined spaces. Some of these people get out into the world, the elites die, and the new California Republic shows up and fights against Caesar's Legion, which is a bunch of like roving bandits. And yeah, people go around the apocalypse trading bottle caps for stuff.
10 seconds.
Also, the new
Mutants?
California Republic is essentially dictators.
Okay. I feel like there was a lot you missed out there. But
There
then
was
there's
quite a
lot of
bit I
things.
missed out. I thought I was running out of time, so I skipped a shitload.
Also, something that was mentioned.
Yeah, what? No, that's...
Yeah, I know, but it just made me laugh when you said it.
I was using the word properly.
Yeah, I know you were. But it just made me laugh. That's what I'm saying. Okay, right. It's time for a tough one for me, isn't it?
It is indeed. Now I have to try to force you to describe the lore of a show that you haven't seen, or a book, or something else.
Or time in history.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did the history one too last time. That's a good point. So since you have said that you don't know a whole lot about this, shit. Sorry, dropped my phone. Which is where I'm timing all this. I want you to describe the lore. Do you know a whole lot about Battlestar Galactica?
I know literally nothing. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
That won't work then. How about Warhammer 40k? Because I know you've played it, but I don't know if you know anything about the lore.
No, I don't know. Even a scrap. Like with the Witcher, I knew a little bit of information.
A little bit of information. All right. Fine. How about... I'm going through my list here, trying to find something that you might know. How about Firefly?
Yes. I've never. It's an American program.
Okay.
I don't even know the premise of it. I know you've told me before. But
How about Final Fantasy VII?
I was kind of too young for that.
Final Fantasy X? God, I'm failing at this over and over again.
I was not a big Final Fantasy player, really.
That's fine. I'm still going. Star Trek?
Star Trek. I know Spock.
Shit.
Scotty.
All right, let's turn this around. What's something that you've heard of that you don't know too much about? Because I'm honestly struggling right now.
Yeah.
I feel like this should be something that's fairly easy, but you know what? I could just say, what's the plot of Overwatch?
Sure. I thought you were gonna say like what's the history of America or something.
Oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm thinking too much into the fantasy world. Let's go with a historical one.
Okay.
What is... Oh. This might be a good one.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me make sure I phrase the question right. So, again, just waffle for a second while I think about this and think of how to phrase it.
Waffle for a second, jeez. Well, speaking of waffle for a second, I'm sure the bingo card's looking pretty full today. I had a quick look at it earlier, and I think there's a good chance that we might have a bingo today. I mean, you even said...
Alright, here you go.
Tell me something. Ooh, yep.
Describe for me the Spanish-American War.
Okay.
So I will count you in. That's the topic.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, the Spanish-American War was, I'm assuming, the war that happened after the Spanish... because everyone colonized to America. And so there was Americans from France, England, Spain, and I want to say Germany. And some people... I remember the French were kind of supporting the rebellion to America being its own country, and I think they sent some troops over in support against... I thought it was England that were the big threat, but it could be Spain that really wanted it to belong to them. So they sent over a big force from... I was going to say King Louis, but that's obviously the French guy. So they sent a bunch of troops over, and
1 minute.
inferring from the day, the kind of equipment they would have would be like cannons and stuff. Like, the Spain probably had the bigger navy, I'm imagining. So they probably had control of the coastal cities fairly easily, but I'm guessing the native / colonists of America were quite dug into the land, and so they probably had trouble penetrating America.
30 seconds.
And the people who had just come over from Spain were probably not used to the climate or the way of people living in a new land. They're probably more used to Spanish tradition.
10 seconds.
And so they couldn't, like, get into the war as much. I don't know.
All right.
And they gave up because they didn't have enough fucking funds, because they have to go all the way across the fucking globe just to get back to home.
It's over.
Okay.
I would personally love to read a book about the war you just described. what you just well, no, it wasn't all. Like, you actually you somehow combined elements of the Civil War and the War of 1812.
Right,
the War of 18
completely wrong war then.
Yeah, you got completely the wrong war. The War of 1812 was the U.S. versus Britain. It was where you guys came in.
Okay, fuck. I took a gamble that.
No, you were right. I mean, that you described that war pretty good. That was the war that you guys burned down the White House.
Oh yeah.
And you guys had Canada invade and used Native American tribes to fight us on our borders. That's a very interesting war. We don't really study that one here because America got their ass kicked.
Well, we didn't study it over here either. The only reason I know about it is because there's a game out there which actually looks quite fun, even though it's really old. It's a Sid Meier's game where they literally go over that war specifically, and you get the backing of different countries, and at the end, you basically have to tool up in preparation for the English trying to take the continent back.
Yeah.
So this big wave of enemies comes at the end, and you have to be ready for it and make alliances and trade and stuff.
So the other two wars that you were mixing in there was the French and Indian War, which was before America was independent. It was when it was still a British colony, and we fought a war against French colonists who were using Indian tribes to fight us back. Right. The other one that you're thinking of is the Civil War, which the South actually had backing from Britain and France because they were producing so much cotton and you guys needed it for your industrial revolution. And when you're talking about the naval power, you're talking about the destruction of the Armada, which is a war between Britain and Spain. So you had elements of a lot of different wars. None of them are the one I was talking about.
I mean, a lot of it was inferred, as I said, I think, I was rambling.
So the Spanish-American War happened in the late 1800s. And essentially what happened was it had to do with Cuba. I can't remember exactly what spawned it. I think there was something that happened around Cuba, and America declared war against Spain, and the Spanish Empire at this point was on a severe decline, and we managed to fucking crush them. Like, we took Cuba, we took the Philippines, and essentially kicked them out of our hemisphere.
Okay.
This was still when Spain was... I think Spain was still a monarchy at this point, but I'm not positive. That was essentially it. It was where the Rough Riders came from. Teddy Roosevelt, one of our most hilarious presidents. Hilarious in a good way. The guy was a badass.
I actually know a bit about the Rough Riders.
Yeah, so he was Secretary of the Navy or something like that, And he was so pissed they wouldn't let him serve, he resigned so he could form his own independent unit and go fight.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting war, and it's one that we don't really talk about too much in the U.S. history. Like, for some reason, it's just not really part of our history books, even though it's a very fascinating part of our history. Anyway, yeah, I was extremely entertained by your rendition of it.
There's no incest in this one, which is good. Shit, I should have thrown that in for the value.
Oh my god. Okay, so this is the final one. It's me, and it's something that I know nothing about that I'll have to describe.
Yeah.
Or
which means I need to find something that I know about so I can ask you about it.
Something I know relatively little about, I should say.
Pardon me. You're going to have to waffle, I'm afraid.
Alright. Well, talking a little bit more about the Spanish-American War, the Rough Riders were an interesting institution. Like, they were a bunch of random, independent, almost mercenaries who were led by a former, like, person who was part of the executive branch of the U.S. government. They were a cavalry unit that, like, had to find private passage onto Cuba so that they could actually fight. Like, Roosevelt literally wanted to get into the war so badly that Roosevelt was an interesting character in general. When he heard that the buffalo was going extinct, he hopped on a train so that he could go out and hunt a buffalo before they all died. Like,
yeah, I heard about that.
This guy was like... This guy literally oozed testosterone.
Okay,
Is the best way to put it. At least in my... Like, he was a very interesting character. He got shot in the chest before he gave a speech. And then gave the speech and then went to see a doctor. The thing is, he actually got shot in the speech. He had the speech in his pocket, and the person shot him at the spot where the speech was. The bullet, like, only went... Because of the speech there, it actually penetrated the paper and then penetrated his, chest. And as a result, he didn't, like, get hurt as much. He was bleeding during the speech. It was a 90-page speech.
Oh, then bullet couldn't have gone too far in then.
Well, exactly. That's probably why he was able to give it. But the thing is, he was able to give the speech, and then that's where he formed his famous party that fucked everything up. He formed what he called the Bull Moose Party. And it was because at the end of the speech, he's sitting up there with a bullet hole in his fucking chest. His last line was something like, "No one can stop this bull moose." And then he went off to see a doctor.
Amazing. All right, I've got your one.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And I think you know a little bit about the topic, so I think it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, what is it?
I would like to hear the story of the Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Okay, I know a little bit about this.
That's the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor game. It's the first one of the series. I have 2 minutes on the clock ready.
All right,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the Shadow of Mordor takes place between The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings series. It follows the adventures of this ranger dude who got, like, fucked up because orcs took over his city, they killed his family, they killed him, but he was sort of semi-resurrected by the spirit of, like, a ghost elf dude, who... That ghost elf dude was the guy that actually made the rings in Lord of the Rings. And he got murdered by the eyeball guy, and he was bitter about that, and so he wanted vengeance, and so you play through the games as this ranger who is also semi-possessed by this bitter elf guy. You go around and you find orcs, and you have to do things like find out about their habits.
Find out about
Fuck! You find out about their habits, and you use that against them to take them down. And slowly over the course of the game, you manage to like what's my time at right now?
50 seconds. Sorry.
Oh shit. So you take them down, and your eventual goal is to essentially nerf the orcs as hard as you can before the actual plot happens in Lord of the Rings. You meet up with several titular characters, like the Gollum, the guy with the big eyeballs, who's like, "My precious!"
Not in Shadow of Mordor.
You do, actually. You meet him in Shadow of Mordor. I played that mission.
Keep going.
You literally meet him. I've played the game, but I don't remember the plot. From there, I don't actually know how it ends because I never finished the game.
10 seconds. Okay.
So, and then you go up and have tea with Sauron. I don't.
Okay,
I don't.
well, you got the T bit right. Everything else was wrong.
God damn it! I've never.
Okay.
My problem is I couldn't do the ending because I've never beaten the game.
So I could have sworn that Gollum was in the second game, not the first one. But
He was in the
wasn't
first one. Yeah, he was in the first one because I've never played the second one. I've only played the first one, and he shows up in like the third or fourth mission.
So you're pretty close. His family doesn't get murdered in a city. He's a ranger on the Black Gate. And yeah, these three like toadies of Sauron, who is the eyeball guy, turns up, smashes his family, kills him, but he's they put Celebrimbor, who is the ancient elf dude, as you put it, into him. Celebrimbor, forged the rings. You're right about that. And he has, I think he still has one of the rings, even though he's dead. And that's what gives him power over the orcs.
Yeah.
And yeah, the big game is basically about going and murdering all the people that murdered your family, and then finally you fight Sauron at the end.
Okay. So I never got that far.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty good though.
All right. Yeah, I got the basic premise of the plot.
Yeah. You. It's all about like a government of orcs that you break down by basically bribing politicians.
Yeah, messing with the orc politics is honestly the fun part of that game.
Yeah, that's the catch point for the game. Yeah, that was pretty good.
All right, cool. All right, well, so that's the end. I think I really love this segment because this is one of the ones that's I don't know. I have a lot of fun playing this third.
It really
segment.
makes you think.
It does, and I love trying to think of like things that we've seen or talked about, and I love trying and boil down like this huge lore that you have in your head down to something like that. Oh man, fun times. All right.
Well,
any final thoughts before I close this out?
what is it next week? I think it's a reading.
Next week is going to be we need to find a book to do.
We found the book.
Oh dear Christ!
Have you just remembered it? That's right. Kaiser will be giving us his rendition on the very popular Audible book, Pimp Dino: 50 Scales of Grey, Book 2.
Jesus fucking Christ.
The hour-long audiobook.
Oh god. No,
And,
so that's my I've been putting it off. I haven't actually listened to it yet. I've got it downloaded, but I haven't listened to it.
And I can't wait because last month it was me that had to do it. You could check that out in the old editions if you want to.
Yeah, it's 2 episodes ago now that happened.
No, it was 4 episodes ago.
Was it actually? I'm losing track. We've done so many of these.
Yeah.
All right.
So look forward to that.
yeah, because I'm certainly not. Anyway, all right, we'll end it there. Thank you all for listening. This has been episode 27 of the TMCJ podcast. We're over half a year now. Thank you all who have been listening. Thank you people who are starting to listen. And we hope that you'll tune in again soon.
Have a fan-dabby-dozy week.